Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thumma amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. So now we're up to the last 3 surahs of the Quran in this 10 surah run, where I wanted to share with you some of the Arabic that students have learned, but also at the same time highlight some of the brief lessons that come from these surahs. Of course, if one was to expound on these surahs, each of them, it would take hours and hours and hours, but I did want to highlight some beautiful things about each of these surahs. First, a couple of comments about how these surahs flow with each other. The last couple of surahs we read were about the Prophet ﷺ being given the directive that the Quraysh, the people that he's been preaching to, have reached a point where their leadership and the elite among them, they just don't want to listen anymore. They're done with it. And so you don't even call them your people anymore. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. After that, the worst of their enemies is going to be removed as an obstacle. After the promise of victory was given, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ, victory is coming. And the promise that lots and lots of people, not just these disbelievers, but actually lots and lots of people are going to be entering into the fold of Islam. And then it's summarized, like, this massive promise of victory of Islam is coming. What's a small sign, some indication that can encourage the believers, because they see no sign of absolute victory, that can encourage them that it's actually coming. And I compared it previously to kind of clouds before the rain. You kind of see signs of something big coming, right? And that's why Abu Lahab's destruction was talked about. One of the worst, if not the worst enemy of Islam, along with his wife. And ironically, in that surah, part of the imagery that's really interesting, Abu Lahab is called the father of the flame, because he used to get inflamed a lot, and he was a redhead, and it's actually a play on words. That's why sayasla naran dhat lahab, that he's going to be cast in a fire that's made of the same kind of flame that describes his personality. And his wife is described as one carrying firewood, hammalat al-hatab. So he's the flame and she's the firewood. They actually fuel each other. They feed off of each other, and so they together create this environment where they're building hell for themselves, kind of. So that's the previous surahs. And now that the obstacles in the Prophet's mission have been removed, the greatest obstacle and the promise of victory is there, then we're reminded what victory is for. What's the purpose of the Prophet's mission, ﷺ? It's to cleanse that house that this entire discussion began with, the Kaaba. And what's the purpose of cleansing the Kaaba? So that people can worship just one God. So at the end of all of this, we come back to the mission statement itself. And that's what Surah Ikhlas actually is. It is the mission of the Prophet summarized, ﷺ, the message that there is only one God. And that's قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Declare, say, He is Allah, Ahad. I can't help but tell you guys the use of the word Ahad here. He is Allah, Ahad. And it's translated a lot of times as He is Allah, the one, or one. It's actually not one, because in Arabic, one is wahid. And grammatically, ahad is used only either in a negative sentence, like lam ajid ahadan, or in the last sentence, last ayah of the surah, lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. It has to be negative, like negative as in negation. But if it's positive, you never say ahadun or ahadan. You actually make it an idafa. So for example, ahadukum, ahaduha, you associate it with something else. What I'm trying to get at, for those of you who don't know any Arabic, is that the word ahadun never occurs in Arabic in this way, except to describe Allah in the Quran. Allah used the word ahad in a truly unique way to describe His unique oneness. So I'm kind of compelled to translate, say, He is Allah, uniquely one. Like one like no one else. His oneness can't be compared to the oneness of anything else. And then there are two, predicates. It's actually, He is. Now who is He? There are 2 descriptions. There's Allah, and then there's unique. Uniquely one. And you'll see that the rest of this surah, it plays on these 2 things. Who is Allah? The answer to that is Allahu Samad. The brief answer in this surah, unique to the entire Quran. Allah doesn't use that description for Himself anywhere else, but He uses it here. الَّذِي يُصْمِدُ إِلَيْهِ الْحَوَائِجِ. That's the meaning of Samad. Samad actually means the one to whom all needs are taken. And the one who is intended, meaning if you are going to make intention for something, desire something, seek something, have a need, you will have nowhere to turn except to Allah. That's Allahu Samad. Allah, the absolute source for all of your needs. The one who needs no one, and everything and everyone needs Him. Right? So it's in a sense summarizing what Allah means to people, what Allah should mean to you. He is As-Samad. Enough said, kind of, That's the description of Allah and who He is to you and me. Then on top of that, the second description was Ahad, uniquely one. And so the rest of this surah will actually define what does it mean that He's uniquely one. لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. He didn't beget, he didn't have a child, and he's not begotten, he's not born of anyone else. He's unique in that way. You know, he can't be compared to having an only child or having qualities of any creation. And then وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا. Kufu actually in Arabic means nadhir, an equivalent, someone who's par to par, on par, comparable to you. You know, there's never been anyone at all that can be compared to Allah in any way, shape, or form. So you'll notice that the statement that the surah began with, Huwa Allahu Ahad, in which the question was, well, who is Allah and what does it mean that He's Ahad? Those are the two questions that are answered in the rest of this surah. Who is Allah is answered in Allahu Samad, and then what is Allah Azza wa Jal, what is Allah Azza wa Jal's uniqueness? What does it represent? It's Lam Yalid, wa Lam Yulad, wa Lam Yakul Lahu Kufuwan Ahad. A remarkably coherent surah and a beautiful summary of why is it that we, and actually the last thing I want to share with you is why is it called Ikhlas? Ikhlas actually means sincerity. It's actually in these two things. If Allah Azza wa Jal is unique unlike anyone else, then when you make intention to please Him, then you don't put anyone else, make Him unique in your intentions. And if Allah is the one that will cover all of your needs, and no one else can take care of your needs like He can, He's the absolute source to make intention for. Literally, the word samad includes alladhi yuqsad, the one towards whom intention is made. And that's why the surah is actually called Ikhlas as well. May Allah make us all people of Ikhlas, people of sincerity, and accept our worship, and give us a better and better understanding of the Quran. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.